all the games I used to play in my younger, wilder days. The game of clubs and tees had never crossed my mind. But after some discussion with my closest, dearest friends, I decided that I'd give it one good try.
Welcome into another episode of the Turn Fantasy Golf Podcast, brought to you by Rotoballer.com. As always, I'm Andrew Putters. I'm here with my buddy, partner in crime, Joe Nicely, league golf editor at Rotoballer. Joe got the big Tennessee hat on, took one on the chin this weekend in the Ole Miss game, and what we call the trash game down here in the South. Joe, how's your weekend, bud?
Good, man.
Big vacation week.
I had a big vacation. I had a great week, man. Feeling a little rejuvenated. Really good week, fun weekend. As you mentioned, the Tennessee game was fun. We went down, but it wasn't without a fight. So I really enjoyed watching that. Kind of neat to see some excitement back in Neyland Stadium, even though it wasn't the greatest finish. But really fun to watch and fun to be excited again about Tennessee football. Of course, the NFL going on. Had a really exciting finish to the CJ Cup, which we couldn't watch until about 5 p.m. Eastern, which had me scratching my head Sunday. But yeah, man, really good to be back, Andrew. Nice to talk to you, and looking forward to getting into this ZOZO.
Yeah, CJ Cup, Rory McIlroy, final round, 6 under to get to 25 under to win by a shot over, charging Morikawa 10 under. He was on 59 watch for a little bit, like you said earlier before we came on. And, Sungjae M, another big charge there late on the leaderboard. Unfortunately, the fan favorite, Ricky Fowler, really had just a very, very, very disappointing Sunday after playing lights out for 3 days. Joe, did you get a chance to, like you said, couldn't watch it till 5 p.m., but did you get a chance to check it out after the 4 o'clock games?
Yeah, I peeked in kind of throughout the week. I was kind of doing the family thing. We were on vacation, a little fall break vacation, so threw a few lineups in just kind of for fun. Didn't deep dive research or anything last week. Didn't have a lot of money invested, kind of like normal. Just kind of a light, just fun week for me. So I was peeking in from time to time. Really cool to see Ricky playing well. I think that's something that a lot of golf fans would like to see. Even though he didn't close it out, which is not a huge surprise. Never been a prolific closer in his career, but still good to see him get a strong finish up there. Maybe he'll carry some momentum into this week. He's going to be teeing it up this week in the ZOZO, so it's really cool to see him up there. Really good reminder, Andrew. We've said it on this show a ton, man, ever since the start of us doing this, that you can never really count Rory McIlroy out of a tournament. No matter how bad his form seems to be, he can pop up and win golf tournaments, man. His 20th victory on the PGA Tour in his career. So just super impressive, man. Kind of speaks to just the huge amount of talent that the dude has. Not playing his best golf, hadn't been playing his best golf, but yet he's won 2 times this calendar year. So hats off to Rory. Really cool to see him play well. Cool to see Ricky play well. Our guy Morikawa, a member there at the Summit Club in Vegas, made a deep run. We'll talk about him a lot here in just a sec for this week. So a lot of cool stuff, man. I didn't get to just sit and watch like I normally do, but got to peek in from time to time and enjoyed it. A ton of birdies, though. That golf course is way too easy of a test for these guys.
Yeah. One thing I'll say, 2 things about McIlroy. About this tournament. So McIlroy wins following a real publicized, emotional interview. That's happened in the past with Rory McIlroy. I don't, when there's a highly publicized interview that he does post tournament or anything like that, he's come out and won before. So that might be something to look into in the future. This is just kind of stuff you really can't put on paper. And the other thing is, when Ricky Fowler has played well, it's been on the same type of golf courses that Rory McIlroy plays well. So in the future, if you like one, you probably should like the other, maybe possibly pair them up together. Like I said, same style of golf courses they play well at. Just a thought from an old style field player like myself. What do you think about that, Joe?
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense, man. You start looking at the Summit. Like I said, I didn't really dive into it last week research wise, but kind of in hindsight looking back, it makes a lot of sense. Tom Fazio golf course. Rory's always played well on those. Ricky's always played well on those. Quail Hollow comes to mind. The Wells Fargo. We've seen both those guys win there. Rory has always putted well on bent grass, which makes sense and checks that box. So, and as you mentioned, man, you never really know. I don't know where Rory is in his life. But as you said, he kind of had an emotional ending to the Ryder Cup there. He's had some different coaches going on, been working with Pete Cowan. Hearing now that maybe that's over. That's not a for sure thing, but heard he's kind of went back to his childhood coach. He certainly hit a draw last week. Kind of looked more like his old school swing. So who knows what's going on with Rory, man? The guy's got all the money in the world, all the success in the world. He's won pretty much every type of golf tournament you can win. So maybe he needs something like that Ryder Cup to kind of get his emotions going and get refocused on golf. Needless to say, the guy's unbelievably talented, and when he's playing well, golf's better.
Absolutely, could not agree more. Love Rory McIlroy as off the course and on the course, highly entertaining. So, moving on this week, CJ Cup is over, Joe. Let's move on to the ZOZO Championship. But before we do, tell us about rotoballer.com, Joe. Tell us about everything we got going on up there.
Yeah, it's football season, and you can definitely check out all your NFL needs over at rotoballer.com. But we also want to encourage you to sign up for our PGA Premium Package. Now's the best time of the year. The cheapest price that we will be running it all year. You can use my promo code NICE, N-I-C-E, and sign up now for less than $65. That will take you through next year's Tour Championship. So almost a calendar year of our PGA Premium coverage for less than $65. Visit rotoballer.com. Sign up right now.
Thank you very much, Joe. Now, ZOZO Championship. This is the third playing of the ZOZO Championship. Second playing here at this golf course. It's at the Narashino Country Club in, I'm not even going to try to how to even say this, in Japan. Let's just say Japan. It's in Japan, Joe. Yeah. First year, none other than T. Woods on the inaugural year, or the first year, and shoots 19 under, 261 score, beating out Hideki Matsuyama by 3 strokes back in the 2019 season, Joe. 2020, because of the COVID going on, it was moved to Sherwood Country Club up in Thousand Oaks, so just north of LA. And we're headed back to Japan for 2022 or 2021 season, which is really, or the 2021 year, which is really the 2022 season, if we can make that any more complicated than it already is. Narashino Country Club, par 70, 7,040 yards roughly. The championship, like I said, was started in 19. I can actually look and see golf course. It's like, it's not that old, Joe. It's not that old. Originally, the golf course was said par 72, 7,200 yards, but for the tournament purposes, they've taken 2 par 5s out. So we don't really know much about this other than Tiger Woods won there in 2019. I don't remember this tournament at all. This is before we were doing the show, Joe, and so I probably studied even less than normal. What do you know? Do you have any memories of the golf tournament or things that you've read about this tournament or heard about already? Like I said, the golf course is actually decently old. It's got tournaments based back into the 60s, Japanese PGA Championship, Japanese Open way back, and historic players have won here. So really, really well respected club and golf course in Japan. From what I remember from 2019, Andrew, remember a little bit. Obviously, remember Tiger winning. That's the last time we've seen him win. And there was a ton of rain. It seems like that week, like almost like flood-like conditions over there, if I remember correctly. So the golf course was really, really soft. Tiger won at 19 under. Hideki Matsuyama, obviously from Japan, familiar with the golf course. He finished solo second at 16. And then from there, man, it dropped all the way to 13. Had a bunch of guys like 13, 12 under around in there. So not really a true birdie fest type of course. Tiger just played extremely well that week. And as you mentioned, really small sample size. We've only got those 4 rounds to go on. But this golf course is just a little bit over 7,000 yards, really short.
tight, demanding off the tee. I'm looking for accuracy off the tee and good drives gained. Obviously, iron play is going to be very, very important. We see guys like Tiger Woods and Hideki Matsuyama that played well here in the first edition, the only edition on this golf course. So that pushes me towards guys that are precise, very good with the irons. So that's what I'll kind of be targeting this week, Andrew. I don't think distance is going to be an advantage. Even though this is a short golf course, I don't think these guys will be able to overpower it. So I'm kind of looking for total driving, accuracy off the tee, really good iron play.
Yeah, and one thing I want to say right off the bat, only 25 entrants of the 80 total entries have actually played here in this tournament before at this golf course. So we can't go a little bit off. We can't really go off past finishes, other than we probably have to think that maybe Matsuyama is probably a shoe-in that we're going to like in this field no matter where he is. So really can take tournament history out of the equation. But we get right in this slate, Joe. A 10K and above, Fleetwood, Casey, Matsuyama. Surprisingly, Matsuyama is not the most expensive player. Zalatoris, Xander, Morikawa. I have to feel that Matsuyama is a huge discount in this range. He's a no-brainer, right, Joe?
Yeah, man. Kind of a natural guy that you go right to. As we mentioned, solo second here in 2019. Obviously, he's from Japan. He's extremely familiar with this golf course and kind of the style of layouts in Japan, which are a little bit different. So your eyes kind of go directly to Matsuyama. Has been struggling tremendously with the putter, which is kind of always his downfall, it seems like, Andrew. But maybe he can get it going on these greens, which are unbelievably well manicured. You won't see a golf course in better condition until we get to the Masters. Honestly, these Japanese greenskeepers take great pride in taking good care of these golf courses. So the greens are going to be extremely pure this week. So maybe Hideki can get that putter going. Lost almost 10 strokes on the greens last week at the CJ Cup. So really brutal, man, for him lately. But you have to love that ball striking. You have to love his familiarity with this golf course. Up at the top, man, it almost jumps out as a stars and scrubs type of week. I don't know if we mentioned yet, but this is a no-cut event. So you can get aggressive this week. You got 4 guaranteed rounds from all your guys. But man, this field is so weird. Such a weird salary scale, Andrew. It pops out as a stars and scrubs type of week. There's guys up here you immediately want to target. A guy like Colin Morikawa, coming off an extremely hot final round last week in Vegas, shot 62 at the Summit Club, and he's coming in to a golf course that's just absolutely tailor-made for him. We talk about the comparisons kind of to his game and Tiger Woods' game. And this golf course suits him to a T. He does have some experience, had a T22 here back in 2020. So you love Colin Morikawa in this spot, pretty much on any golf course, but especially a shorter golf course that demands accuracy. So I absolutely love Morikawa this week. Same can be said for Xander. Had a really good final round as well at the CJ Cup. Had a T10 here in his previous trip to the ZOZO in Japan. So we know his game travels to any type of golf course. We talked a lot about Matsuyama, Willie Z. We're still kind of waiting on that breakthrough win. And after those top 4, man, I think there's a pretty noticeable drop off. You could throw Paul Casey in there, maybe a Tommy Fleetwood who's looked a little bit better in some European starts. But after that kind of 10K mark, man, we're going downhill fast.
I was getting ready to say the same thing. You don't have to go very far to get stars and stripe or scrubs, Joe. You could basically, I feel like I'm once we go down this 9K range immediately, I'm going to go ahead and say, Joe, that I'm not ready. I'm ready to stay on the Fowler bandwagon at this point. 4 rounds, no cut. I like it. Don't necessarily say I like in a normal setting. I'm not going to sit here and say that I like him over Neiman. I can see how you can play him over Neiman this week because he's on. Neiman's just so much more consistent. But if you look at an event like this, I could see Fowler. Fowler's probably going to be well received over there, I would imagine, as an international player. But 9K range, Joe Hughes. I mean, this is laughable. Mackenzie Hughes, Grillo, Tringale, Maverick McNeely, Full Keegan, EVR, Siwoo, Norin, Fowler, Neiman. This is a pretty weak range. I don't really have much to say about this. McNeely, we love in a weaker field. Oh, we're going to say that every time, guys. Weaker fields, we love McNeely, but I'm kind of sticking with Fowler in this range for gamble purposes.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I don't hate the play, Andrew. Really, actually, kind of like the play in a vacuum, but then you look across and you see that $9,800 price tag next to Ricky's name, and that's the only thing that really gives me pause. You kind of hope that maybe he's going to carry some positive momentum with him into this week. So like I said, in a vacuum, I kind of like the play, just riding the hot hand. A lot of these guys in this 9K range, the form hasn't been there for them. I'll say that about Joaquin Neiman. Hasn't really played well in a while. Tried to hop on him a little bit back at the Shriners. Felt like he was a really good play in that field. Didn't perform well. So his recent form's been kind of underwhelming. He does have some experience on this golf course. Had a T33 here back in 2020. So I mean, you can certainly look at Neiman, but at 9,900, I'm almost just going to bump up to a Matsuyama for $400 more. As you mentioned, man, really thin, really sketchy 9K range, inflated price tags this week. This field tails off quickly. It's weak, really kind of weird, honestly. Just a kind of a mixed mash of guys. It's just strange field. But if you are building in the 9K range, if you do want to lean a little more balanced, you mentioned Maverick McNeely, a guy we really like. Had a runner up there at the Fortinet Championship in Silverado a few weeks ago. Hasn't looked as sharp since. But I think he's a guy that we've talked about it before. He kind of thrives on these shorter golf courses. Heritage comes to mind. Harbortown comes to mind. At Pebble Beach, some shorter golf courses where he's played really well. And he's getting a golf course this week, Andrew, that's just about 7,000 yards. Cameron Tringale's fell off a little bit early this year, but I think you can consider him in this field. His price tag isn't egregious at 9,200, so I think you can look at him. Griot's a really good ball striker. He can get hot. If we're kind of taking that non-putter angle like we're doing with the Decky, you might want to give Griot a look. But yeah, man, really tough. And I'm with you. I almost prefer, it feels bad to say, I almost prefer Ricky in the 9K range.
Yep, that is an interesting statement, Joe. 8K range gets even weaker. Matt Wallace, Kirk, Shank, Ryan Palmer, Lanto, Hoffman, Ortiz, Lee, Cage Lee, CT Pan, Johnny Vegas. A lot of letters in that range, Joe. But name that sticks out to me when we're talking shorter golf courses is Chris Kirk, Joe, 8,100. Another guy that we talk about a lot. Also like Ryan Palmer, the vet. His form hasn't been great over the probably last 6 months, but I really feel like this is going to be a huge GPP week from the standpoint that we're just going to have to be throwing names in there and hope something sticks. So That's the two names I like in this range: Ryan Palmer, Chris Kirk. I'm gonna go with the vet play here.
Yeah, don't mind it at all, Andrew. I kind of almost feel like you're drawing from a hat. I would maybe look at CT Pan, another player that I like on short golf courses. The form has been really solid. This is the type of track where he can succeed. I don't ever want to play him on lengthy golf courses, really, but he had a 6th at the Fortinet, gained 4.6 strokes on approach, and then had another really good outing at the Sanderson where he had a T11, gained 3.1 strokes on approach. So I think you can definitely look at CT Pan here, a player that pops up from time to time. Johnny Vegas, I like. Love his game, love his form, but he hadn't been playing much, no course history, and I don't know that this golf course is a great fit for him. He's kind of the opposite of CT Pan. I almost prefer Vegas on driver-heavy golf courses. So even though I like him as a player, I don't know that I'm circling him this week. and it's tough, man. Charlie Hoffman's a guy, you kind of go to in this range and look at as maybe a solid option, but the form hasn't been great yet this year. You mentioned Ryan Palmer. The course history's good, T10 in his only start here, but the recent form's been bad. So I'd almost drop down to an Adam Schenk at 8,200, a guy. It's kind of sicko to see his price tag at 8.2K, but had a T22 on this golf course back in 2020, coming off a third place finish a few weeks ago. So I think you can look at Adam Schenk, a guy that we seen pop up and play some really solid golf down the stretch last season, earlier this year, and then popped up once again here, like I said, a few weeks ago with the solo third in a golf tournament that he had a chance to win. So I think you can look at Schenk at 82, despite the kind of gross price tag.
Yeah, Schenk is an interesting player. We're waiting for him to really break through, I think. We're going to see him around for quite a while. 7K range, Joe, more of the same. Maybe probably the strongest price range since the upper shelf, but not necessarily a lot to love. I mean, Doug Gim is usually somebody we're going to talk about when iron play comes in to be a big factor. We love Brendan Todd on short golf courses when the putter's hot, but we don't know where that putter is right now. What about Higo? Are we off Higo? Are we back? Are we on the teeter totter? I mean, I know he got hot last summer, but where are we at with him?
Yeah, man, got hot last summer. Won a couple times in Europe. Obviously, won over here at the Palmetto. So, I mean, he's a guy that certainly brings some upside to the table. I think he's a guy you can look at, but he's been a little off form as of late. You mentioned Brendan Todd. This is the type of golf course where I'll actually play him. I don't love rostering him because you do rely on the putter so heavily with him, but on this shorter 7,000-ish yard golf course, I think you can look at him. Robert Streb is a guy that's coming in with really good form, playing well. I think we can look at Streb. He's coming off the top 10 last week at the CJ Cup, had a T27 at the Shriners, had a couple of good rounds there. And a guy will stick out, man. He's toss out. He's really inconsistent. He's never going to be a consistent, like, top 25 every week guy. But when he's got things going, I don't mind trying to grab him in GPPs, and that's Harry Higgs. He's coming in with good form, playing well. We saw him with a top 10 last week at the CJ Cup, played good at the Shriners, actually gained 4.1 strokes on approach last week in Vegas, which normally isn't his strong suit. But he's got a great short game, can get hot with the putter. And if he's got those irons going, man, I don't mind taking a stab at Harry Higgs. And really I feel is a reasonable price tag at 7,500. So don't mind looking at Higgs. If we want to go off script a little bit, Andrew, Takumi Kanaya down there at 7,200. This is a guy that was the #1 amateur in the world in 2019, won on the Japan Tour as an amateur in 2019, and has won 2 more times on the Japan Tour since turning pro. Won the big Phoenix Dunlop tournament over there, which is kind of their biggest event. So if you're wanting to start throwing darts a little bit, looking at a guy with some Japanese connections and actually a ton of talent, I think you can look at Takumi Kanaya there at 7,200, excuse me. So that's kind of one if we want to go off script a little bit to look at.
Leave it to Joe Nicely to pull out the value play from somebody that nobody knows who they're talking about. So I love it, Joe.
I love that guy, man. I'm playing him this week.
Moving down to the 6K range, Joe, there's a couple guys here that I would be all in on. Sam Ryder, 6,700, Joe. And this is the steal of the draft. I'm going to throw it out there. 6,500, Matthew Naismith, the steal of the draft. I feel down here. You got a lot of guys down here from the Japanese PGA Tour. Unknown. We might see a couple of them jump up there, but we just don't know them. So without any other information than that, I think you got to go with some of the Americans down here or the regular PGA Tour players that we know can sneak up in there if they get hot. Doc Redmond comes to mind. However, form has been horrible for 8 months now going. I wouldn't be scared on a Peter Malnati on a short golf course either, Joe. 6K, who you looking at?
Yeah, man, as you mentioned, you almost feel like you got to dip down here with what's up at the top. I mean, you want exposure to at least one of those guys. I mean, I almost want to try to jam in two. If this field were just a little bit stronger down at the bottom, but on the flip side, we got 4 guaranteed rounds. It's a no-cut event, so if you want to try to get like a Matsuyama and a Xander, a Xander and a Colin Morikawa, you want to try to get a couple of those guys in, you're going to have to go shopping down here. Unfortunately, there's just not a lot here. The first one that jumps out for me in the 6K range, Andrew, is Troy Merritt at 6.9K. He's a guy we saw play some pretty good golf down the stretch of the season earlier this summer. Ran off 3 top 10s there over the summer. Then had a really good chance to win up in Detroit. I don't know if you remember, he lost in a playoff to Cam Davis up there, who held out a bunker shot. But Merritt played some really good golf last summer and has some experience on this course. Had a T30 in the 2020 ZOZO. So, he's a guy we can look at. Had a pretty good start a couple of weeks ago. So I think you can look at Troy Merritt there, especially on this short golf course. So he's my first one. You mentioned Malnati. He's a guy I'll give a look to. Roger Sloan's a guy we've seen played well in spurts. Just an extremely inconsistent guy. Matthew Neesmith is a name we know. Wyndham Clark, I don't think this golf course fits him very well. He's more of a bomb and gouge type of golfer, and this really doesn't set up well for that. And kind of as a result, you could almost look at a guy like a Satoshi Kodaira, a guy that we've seen win at Harbor Town and play really well on short golf courses, obviously familiar with the type of golf in Japan, being from there. So I think you can look at Kodaira. Sung Kang, we've seen play really well in spurts. We've seen some hot rounds from him, and he had a T17 here back in 2020. So I think you can look at Sung Kang. Wesley Bryan's a guy we love, but he just hadn't been getting the reps in. So he's a big-time dart throw, but a guy that I will throw in there from time to time. And I'll throw one more at you, Andrew. One more kind of wild name here. Keita Nakajima. He's currently the number 1 ranked amateur in the world. Won the McCormick medal a couple of months ago for being the top ranked amateur. This kid's got a ton of game. He's kind of on that Hideki Matsuyama path. So if you really want to throw a dart throw down there at 6,100, you can look at Keita Nakajima.
Joe, with a plethora of darts in his pocket, which one are you going to stick in for this show, Joe? Who's your dart play of the week?
Man, I feel like we're throwing darts all across the board this week, Andrew. I really do. I'm going to go Harry Higgs. I don't know that that's deep diving. I will have some exposure to some of these guys on down the board. You almost have to this week, man. But I like Harry Higgs. He's one of the few guys that you could maybe argue is a little bit underpriced this week for how he's been playing. Golf course suits him well. So I'll take a stab with big, beautiful Harry Higgs.
Big and beautiful Harry Higgs. I'm sticking with my man Matt Naismith, 6,500 on my dart play of the week. Hard play of the week, I'm going all the way to the tippy top, Joe. Xander Schauffele for this is for our boy up in Bagels on the no cut event. We're going with Xander this year. He never lets a year go by without winning a no cut event. So Xander Schauffele is my pick. Finished 10th here back in 2 years ago. So Xander Schauffele is my heart play. Dart play, Matthew Naismith. Who's on your heart this week, Joe?
I'll see your Xander, and I'll raise you Colin Morikawa. Love this guy. I think man, he's one of my favorites, if not my favorite player out there right now. Just absolutely love his game, and I don't think this golf course could suit him any better. Was really young when he last played here back in 2019. Had a T22. He's coming off a fire round, 62. At the CJ Cup, so he's bringing a ton of positive momentum over. The course fits great. He makes a couple putts. He wins this week, Andrew.
I like it, Joe. I like it. Rotoballer.com. Thank you, everything you do for us. Remember, when you're signing up for the PGA Premium, use the promo code NICE, NICE. That's Joe Nicely. I'm Andrew Putters. You have listened to the Turn Fantasy Golf Podcast.
That was my first big mistake. I've already hit 3 in the lake. It's gone.